These videos are for Cambridge IGCSE Biology 0610, and in this video we are going to start topic 1, that is characteristics and classification of living organisms. And this video consists of the part 1 of topic 1, that is characteristics of living organisms 1.1. These characteristics of living organisms are shown by all animals, all plants, all fungi, prototists, and all prokaryotes as well, of which bacteria is one of the member for prokaryotes. The group of organism that is not included in this keyword of living organism, that is the virus. Virus shows some of these characteristics in specific conditions, but it does not show all of these characteristics. So that is why we are not considering virus a living organism. To remember all of these characteristics, there is an acronym. That acronym is known as Mrs. GREN, with the help of which you can easily remember all of these characteristics that are shown by living organisms. The very first characteristic is movement, respiration, sensitivity, growth, reproduction, excretion, and then nutrition. Let's break down all of these characteristics one by one. First of all, movement. Movement, it is an action, and that action will be performed by the whole organism or by the part of that organism. And due to that action, there will be a change. That change can be either in position or in place as well. For example, right now I am in sitting position, and if I performed an action due to which I stand up, so in that case I have changed my position, and that's a movement. Similarly, if I start walking from one room to another room, that is again an action, and due to this action now I have changed my place, so that is again a movement. So movement is an action by an organism or by the part of an organism causing a change in position or place is known as movement. Respiration. Respiration is a chemical reaction. This is the very first thing about respiration. Chemical reactions include different types of reactions. Some chemical reactions are like smaller molecules combined together and they form a large molecule, or a large molecule breaks down to form smaller molecule. Respiration is one of those chemical reactions in which nutrients break down to release energy. This release of energy is the main keyword for respiration. If you are given an MCQ and there is a keyword written in the statement of MCQ, release of energy, so it means they are talking about respiration, because respiration is the only process performed by living organism to release energy, and that energy that has been released here, it will be used for metabolism. Nutrient molecules that are involved in the process of respiration are glucose and oxygen. There are different types of respiration. Glucose is involved in all type of respiration. Oxygen is included in one of the type of respiration, not in all types of respiration. Sensitivity. Sensitivity is an ability to detect a change. That change can be in internal environment as well as an external environment. And after detecting that change, respond to that change is also included in sensitivity. So it includes two things. First thing is the detection. Second thing is the respond to the change that we have detected before. For example, if temperature increases, the human body starts sweating. Before sweating, sweating is a response. Before sweating, there is a mechanism in the human body that has detected that increase in the temperature. So according to that detection, our body has started producing the sweat. That is the response. So this is known as sensitivity and is shown by all living organisms. It would not always be in response to temperature. It can be in response to light as well. Some people move away from light, some organisms move toward the light, some organisms move towards the water, some organisms moves away from the water. So there are different kinds of changes that can be there in the environment according to which living organisms will be responding. So this is the sensitivity. Next is the growth. The first thing that is there in the growth is it is a permanent increase, not temporary increase, it is a permanent increase. And this increase would be in two things. Number one, size. Number two, dry mass. Dry mass is the mass without water. Water is not included in this mass. For example, human body consists of almost 70 to 80% of water. If we remove this water and then take the mass of that organism, that human body, then that mass is known as the dry mass. And the increase in dry mass and the size, and that increase is permanent, then it is known as the growth. Reproduction. Processes that make more of the same kind of organism, that is known as the reproduction. Reproduction are of two types. One of the type is known as sexual reproduction, other is known as asexual reproduction, and you will be talking about in detail about reproduction in topic 16. Some organisms show reproduction by laying eggs. Some living organism shows reproduction by giving birth to the live young ones. So there are different modes of reproduction and different methods of reproduction. The main purpose of the reproduction is to produce, to make same kind of the organism, either by laying eggs, either by giving birth to the live young ones. Excretion. There are three things that have been removed out by the process of excretion. Number first is waste product of metabolism. Metabolism are the chemical reactions that are going on in the body, of living organisms. So chemical reactions. Waste product of chemical reactions removed out by the process of excretion. For example, if we talk about carbon dioxide, the removal of carbon dioxide by the process of gas exchange, and that gas exchange is taking place in a structure. That structure is known as alveoli. From where this carbon dioxide comes, it comes by a chemical reaction, and that chemical reaction is known as respiration. Not all type of respiration produces carbon dioxide, but carbon dioxide is produced by one of the type of respiration, and that carbon dioxide is a waste product. So removal of that carbon dioxide is excretion, because it is a waste product of a metabolism, it is a waste product of chemical reaction. Second thing that has also been removed by the process of excretion are the excess substances. Example of excess substances are water and mineral ions or salts that are present in the human body. These are removed by the process of excretion. Toxic substances, for example, urea, that is produced in our liver, that is one of the organ of human body, by the process of deamination. And urea is one of the example of toxic substances, and these toxic substances also removed out by the process of excretion. So removal of waste product of metabolism, excess substances and toxic substances is excretion. If you find this particular process in MCQs, then you have to find out which option has all of these three things. If the option says the removal of undigested solid waste, that would not be the process of excretion. Nutrition. Nutrition is taking in of nutrients. Now, why we need those nutrients? We need those nutrients for energy. We need those nutrients for growth, development, absorption, assimilation, tissue repair, metabolism. These keywords will be helping you out in identifying the nutrition characteristic in MCQs. Now let us perform some questions that are there in the form of MCQs as well as theory questions. The very first nature of question that will be asked from 1.1 is, what is a characteristic of all living organisms? You will be provided with different options, and in one of those options your characteristic will be there. And how you will be finding out that characteristics? By remembering the acronym Mrs. GREN. First option has breathing. In acronym there is no letter B. So breathing is not the correct one there. If we talk about option B, egestion. For egestion starting with letter E, there is a letter E in our acronym as well. But that letter E stands for excretion, not egestion. So option B is also not the correct one there. C option has excretion. D is ingestion. Again, there is no letter of I in our acronym Mrs. GREN, so D is not the correct one. The only option correct one is the excretion. So this is the first type of question in MCQ that you will be asked in the exams. Another type of question that will be there is, you will be provided with different diagrams with different images, and you will be asked to identify the characteristics shown by the organism present in that particular diagram. For example, in this question, there is a plant seedling and two diagrams are there. One of the diagram is showing the seedling at the start and the other seedling is shown at the next day of that particular experiment. At the start, plant is present straight, but in the next day, plant seedling started growing toward the light or started moving toward the light. Which characteristic of living things made the seedling grow toward the light? Number one is excretion. In excretion, we have studied that it is the removal of three different things. But the diagram that is shown here, it is not showing any kind of removal of any substance. So that's not an excretion. Since in nutrition we have talked about taking in of nutrients and there is no nutrient being intake by the plant, so it's not nutrition as well. For respiration, we have talked about it's a chemical reaction that releases energy by the breakdown of nutrients and there is no energy released by this particular process. And also it's not a chemical reaction. Simple is that plant seedling is growing toward the light and in this particular diagram process there is no chemical reaction going on. So that's also not, but yes, it's sensitivity because plants had shown respond to a change in the environment and that change is in the form of light that is present in external environment. And in sensitivity we have studied two things. Number one is detection of a change and then responding to that change is known as the sensitivity. So plants first detected the light and then they have respond to that light change. So that is sensitivity. Another question is there. Here you can see a box is there. You can also say it's a room. Some part of that room has light, other part don't have the light. Some part of room is having warm environment, other is having the cold environment. And student has traced the pathway taken by this fly larva. Which statement describes the response of the fly larva? This type of questions will also be there in the MCQs. You will be given different organisms. Such as we have seen in the previous question, you are provided with the plant and plant was showing the response and you were asked to name the characteristic shown by the plant in that particular diagram. But now in this case, the fly larva has shown a response and we have to find out the correct statement that is describing that response. First statement says fly larva does not respond to temperature or light intensity. If fly larva does not respond to temperature and light intensity, then it should remain in its place. If fly larva has started its path from, let's say, point A and it is not responding to either light or temperature, then it should remain in its place. But it is moving toward warmer area and toward dark area. So it means fly larva is responding to the light as well as the temperature. So first statement is incorrect. Fly larva moves away from higher temperature and higher light intensity. If we talk about the diagram, fly larva is moving toward high temperature but low light intensity. Okay, you can see in the diagram that fly larva is moving toward the warm area, so it means high temperature, but it is at that high temperature area has no light. So light is not present there. We can either write no light or we can write low light intensity. So first part of the statement is correct but not the second one. So B statement is also incorrect. C statement says fly larva moves away from higher temperature. That's not the correct one. Just now we have got it is moving toward the higher temperature. The fly larva moves toward the higher temperature. Yes, it is moving toward the higher temperature and away from a higher light intensity. Yes, it is moving away from a higher light intensity toward the low light intensity area. So D option is the correct one there. Another nature of question that you will be asked in the MCQs questions is you were provided with a statement and that statement consists of different characteristics and you will be asked to identify those characteristics. So students find a small organism in a pond. They catch it and put it into a large jar of water. They see that the organism swims away from the light. So in these four keywords, swims away from the light, the organism is showing two different characteristics. Swims mean that organism is moving. It has shown the movement characteristic. And away from the light is a response. And that response is to the light present in the external environment. And response is only present in one of the characteristic that is known as sensitivity. And then that organism lay some eggs, and this is again one of the characteristic of all living organism, and we have studied it, and that's the reproduction. So three characteristics are shown by organism until now. It lays some eggs before it is put back into the pond. Now which characteristic of living organism did the student see in this organism? So first option says excretion. No, that's not. Growth, respiration, all of these are not shown by organism. Second option has only sensitivity. Growth and nutrition are not shown by the organism. Movement, yes, it is shown. Reproduction also shown. Yes, sensitivity also shown. If we talk about option D, respiration is there, but respiration is not shown by the organism, so it is the C, the only option that is the correct one here. Another question of just like the previous one is a living organism X can make its own food, get rid of toxic materials, and detect and respond to the stimuli. Which other four processes must organism X carry out to stay alive? So first of all, it is making its own food, get rid of toxic material, detecting and respond to the stimuli. Stimuli means the change that is going on in the environment. A change in the environment is known as the stimuli. Can make its own food is nutrition. Get rid of toxic materials, it is excretion. Detect and respond to the stimuli, this is sensitivity. So three characteristics we are provided with in the statement, and we have to find out what other four characteristics must be shown by the organism X. And to find out what are other four characteristics, we are connecting with the keyword Mrs. GREN. M for movement, R for respiration, S for sensitivity. Sensitivity is shown in the statement. Growth, reproduction, excretion, and nutrition. So we have to find out which option has movement, respiration, growth, and reproduction. So first option has excretion. Excretion is shown as well as sensitivity. B option again has excretion, that is already shown. Nutrition also shown in the statement. C option has growth, movement, reproduction, and respiration. All of these characteristics are not shown by the organism X. The last option has sensitivity, that is shown in the statement. So the only option that is correct one here is the option C. Movement, growth, reproduction, and respiration. Now let us do some theory question that will be asked from topic 1.1. Mrs. Gren. Description is there. We have to write the name of that particular characteristic. One of the type of question is you will be provided with the description and you have to write the name of that particular description. Other type of question that will also be there in the theory is, okay, you will be asked to describe sensitivity, let's say. Any characteristic will be provided and you have to describe that characteristic, or you have to define that characteristic. So these are two type of questions that will be asked in the theory. There are also other type of question we will be discussing after this question. So first description says ability to detect and respond to the change. So that is sensitivity. This is sensitivity. Removal of waste product, removal of substances in excess of requirement. This is excretion. Permanent increase in the size and the dry mass, that is the growth. So this is about one of the question that is there in the form of theory questions from topic 1.1. Another nature of question is that you will be provided with one of the characteristic of living organism in the question, and you will be asked to name other characteristics that can be asked for 2 marks question, for 3 marks question as well. If it is of 3 marks question, then you are asked to write 3 other characteristics. Now it is of 2 marks question, so you are asked to write 2 other characteristics. So again, we will be connecting with the acronym Mrs. GREN. Characteristic we are provided with in the statement in the question is E, that is excretion. We can write any of these other 6 characteristic that is not given in the statement. So let us write growth, respiration, or we can also write movement, sensitivity, nutrition, reproduction as well. Okay, so any of characteristic that is not given in the question.